This is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
All right, so you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the Black Book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the rape and sex trafficking of young women and girls?
Did the FBI director just contradict his own past statements about releasing the Epstein files? Let's watch what happened.
Yields back. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, before you joined the FBI, you railed against it for covering up Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring. Let me refresh your memory with this clip.
It has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale? Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
So you finished that December 2023 interview with a challenge to the FBI and harsh words for Republicans in Congress for not getting the Epstein files out to the public. You can see this clip.
Boy pants, and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are, you said. You emphasized that the president and FBI director each had complete authority to release Epstein's client list. You said Epstein's Black Book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. Look at this clip.
This is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
All right, so you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the Black Book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the rape and sex trafficking of young women and girls?
The Rolodex, which is what everybody colloquially refers to as the Black Book, has been released.
Oh, no, you're talking about what the journalist got 5 years ago? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you were talking about there.
That's
the Black
exactly
Book under the direct control of the FBI director.
We have released more material than anyone else before. The Biden administration, Obama administration had the exact opportunities to release this material, and they never did. And if you are selling the men and women of the FBI, we're not going after child predators. Hang on, you said we're not going after child predators. 1,500 child predators arrested this year, 35% increase.
I'll reclaim my time.
4,700 child victims.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to reclaim my time if you could instruct the witness. Why have you changed your position? There you were saying it's under the direct control of the FBI director and all of it should be released. Why have you changed your position?
Everything that has been lawfully permitted to be released has been released. And as I told you, the investigation was limited. And let me make something crystal clear. I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic other people, other women, and they're not other victims. This is the investigation we were given from 2006, 7, and 8, and the search warrants from 2006, 7, and 8. That's what we're working with.
Well, wait, have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to release.
Which court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said...
We're talking about the evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any idea how the law works?
Wait,
do you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No, I want you to follow your own word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the Black Book.
Everything I have direct control over, we have gone to court. You haven't.
Complete your sentence. Everything you have direct control over, you said.
Have gone to court, and everything we have direct control over.
Complete your sentence. You said everything.
Release. We're releasing.
He'd like to complete his answer.
You began the sentence, everything you have direct control over, and then you stopped that sentence. You've released everything that you have direct control over?
And I have direct control over and can lawfully release. If you're not familiar with the court orders, that's not my fault.
Oh, I'm perfectly familiar with them. But how did we prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell?
She was prosecuted with the investigatory material that was collected from 2001 and 2005. Because of the non-prosecution agreements and the court orders on the investigations and search warrants, we were not able to develop new information. And oh, by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was out for 12 years, and the Obama and Biden administration did nothing to look at his work, his pedophile network. If you want to blame me, that's fine. But now you're blaming the men and women who conducted this
stop
great
that.
search.
I'm not blaming anybody other than you. You're not keeping your word. You said that you would release all of the materials
Has
under your
anyone
direct
released
control.
more information on Epstein than I have? Has anyone?
Much
did
more.
Comey, did Ray?
Much
Did
more.
they?
Excuse me. Much more has come out in the days since the American people in Congress have been demanding it, but it's coming out in dribs and drabs. Why don't you just release the entire file as you promised to do?
I literally just told you, there are multiple federal court orders. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity. You didn't join us when we filed court to release the court orders. You could have. You have lawyers. You could have shown up. You didn't do that.
That's a tiny fraction of the material we're
That
talking
is
about.
not.
It is
How
a
do you-
tiny fraction.
How do you know that? Have you seen
No.
everything?
Time
It's
of the
all
gentleman.
misdirection.
How do you know
Time
that?
of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from California.
All right. So what we just watched was a congressional hearing that took place recently within the last several months based on a reference to Director Patel being in office for over 200 days. This was an exchange between a congressman from Maryland and Kash Patel, who is currently serving as the FBI director. The core issue here revolves around a release of materials related to Jeffrey Epstein's case, specifically what many refer to as a black book or client list. The congressman opened by playing clips from December 2023, before Patel became FBI director, where Patel was very vocal in criticizing the FBI for not releasing this information. In those clips, Patel used strong language, calling out the FBI for protecting the world's foremost predator and challenging officials to put on your big boy pants and release the names. He specifically stated that the Black Book was under the direct control of the director of the FBI, implying that the director had full authority to release it. Now, fast forward to this hearing, and Patel is in that exact position. He is the FBI director. The congressman is essentially asking, if you believe the director had complete control and should release everything, why haven't you done so now that you're in charge? Let me be clear, I'm not endorsing or opposing either side here. I'm just analyzing what was presented. Patel's defense rested on several points. First, he stated that everything that has been lawfully permitted to be released has been released. He repeatedly cited multiple federal court orders that restrict what the FBI can disclose. He emphasized that he cannot and will not break the law or violate a federal judge's order just to satisfy demands for information. He also mentioned that the investigation they're working with stems from search warrants and evidence collected between 2006 and 2008, which apparently limits the scope of what can be shared. On the positive side, Patel did provide some concrete claims. He mentioned that the FBI has released more material than previous administrations, specifically calling out the Obama and Biden administrations for not taking similar action. He also highlighted that Ghislaine Maxwell was successfully prosecuted using investigatory material from the early 2000s. Additionally, he defended the FBI's current work by citing statistics. 1,500 child predators arrested this year, representing a 35% increase, and 4,700 child victims identified. These are specific, verifiable claims that lend some credibility to his argument that the FBI is actively pursuing these cases. However, there were several areas that felt vague or could have used more clarification. The repeated reference to federal court orders was mentioned multiple times, but we didn't get specific details about what these orders actually say, which courts issue them, or what specific materials they cover. The congressman seemed to suggest that only a tiny fraction of the available material has been released, but Patel didn't directly address the scope or volume of what remains unreleased versus what has been made public. Another point of contention was the distinction between what Patel called the Rolodex, which he said has been released and was obtained by a journalist 5 years ago, and what the congressman was referring to as a full scope of evidence: computers, emails, file cabinets, financial records. It wasn't entirely clear whether all of this material is covered by those court orders, or whether some of it could potentially be released with additional legal effort. The tone of this exchange was notably heated. The congressman was clearly frustrated, accusing Patel of not keeping his word and changing his position now that he holds a position of power. Patel, on the other hand, came across as defensive but also somewhat indignant, repeatedly insisting that he's following the law and that the congressman could have joined legal efforts to challenge these court orders but chose not to. I want to emphasize again, I'm not taking a side here. What I will say is that Patel's past statements do create an optics problem. When someone is that vocal about what should be done and uses such strong language about the authority and responsibility of position, and then they assume that position and cite legal obstacles, it naturally invites questions about whether the situation is truly as straightforward as they initially presented, or whether the complexities weren't fully acknowledged at the time. At the same time, it's also fair to acknowledge that being on the outside versus being on the inside often reveals legal and procedural realities that aren't immediately apparent. If there genuinely are court orders preventing release, that's a legitimate legal constraint. What would have been helpful? More transparency about what specific court orders exist, perhaps declassified summaries of what materials are being withheld and why, and maybe a clearer roadmap for what legal steps are being taken to challenge those restrictions if the FBI believes more should be released. The takeaway here is that this is clearly an unresolved issue with strong feelings on both sides. The congressman believes Patel isn't living up to his own standards, and Patel insists he's doing everything legally possible while previous administrations did less. Both presented arguments, but neither fully closed the gap on the central question. Could more be done within legal bounds, or are we truly at the limit of what's possible without court intervention? That's my reaction. Would love to hear yours. If you found this reaction helpful, please give a like. Share your thoughts in the comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss future updates. I'll continue covering important exchanges like this, breaking them down in a fair and balanced way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Retry.